Ray Ives, the pen of an underdog. So we get to the last part of part one, and thank you if you've watched all these videos or continued longer. If you bought the book, let's connect. Tell me what you think. Like, honestly, I wrote the book to really inspire people. And if you feel inspired, and I would say it again like a parable, at the end, what you get out of it is not what you think in the beginning. It's at the end of this story, you're gonna put this book down and say to yourself, it's time. It's your time to accomplish something great. And the lesson of all this is going to come to you. Okay? I can't tell you exactly what it is. I'll share it eventually, but you're going to see what it does for you. So you want to take the shortcut? Buy the book, The Pen of an Underdog. Here it is. It's on Amazon. Check it out. Want to start the part which I called entitled Obedience Training. In life, there's times where if you look at the apprenticeship of life where you're training, you're observing, or you're entry level, or you're going through things to learn, this was the biggest moment for me. So finally, it took me 7 years to get a 2-year degree. And I knew I wanted to get into college. I wanted to get into college in Chicago. I just had things already set up here. And I always looked at DePaul University. Wow. I was like, you know what? That's a great school. It just fascinated me. Right. And at the time, what really stood out was two things. It was one of the most diverse schools in the United States and had the happiest student body. Right. So there was a national survey of students at universities and colleges, and DePaul University came back as the happiest students. And why wouldn't? It's in the greatest city. It's in Lincoln Park. You have access to the lake, restaurants, nightlife, theaters, good academic history, challenging. It was awesome. And by no means was I ever getting into that school. No way. No way. Growing up, I knew people that went to DePaul. They were smarter than me. They had a better academic record than me. They were just going places. I just kind of thought to myself, how would I ever get into this school? And I was like, you know what? And this is where the underdog comes in. This is okay, here's a school I may not be able to get into, but I did some research, and it's maybe if I have if I could transfer in with a GPA of 2.5 or higher, then it could happen. All right. And I set up an appointment with a admissions counselor, which was new to me. I didn't know what an admissions counselor was. And going in, I thought to myself, what questions is she going to ask? How would I get disqualified? Right? Simply, why was your high school GPA so low? Why did it take you 7 years to accomplish a 2-year degree? And things like your academic history restricts you from being accepted. Why do you think you should be accepted? And I was really ready for everything. I had a list of, outlining my potential. And I knew there was things I couldn't talk about. In me, my wins were how do I come to the table and be you know what? I had these 2 street fights, and I knocked out Carlo and I knocked out Paul, and that was really hard. And that just shows my potential. No, right? Was I going to talk about bartending? Maybe, right? But I haven't accumulated a lot of wins. I felt like talking about maybe modeling was superficial. Slam dunking, I thought was awesome. It's maybe I just put this narrative together and say, hey, I was able to slam dunk. You know how hard that is for me? What I really wanted to do is go in there, prove that I was intelligent and that I had potential. Those were my 2 ideas. Okay. I couldn't talk about the wins that I considered and added up. I had to talk about why I was intelligent and my potential. And I thought the 2 ways to do that is talk about academic momentum and people skills. I was okay, these are the things that are going to resonate either on a resume or in the world of academia. Academic momentum. My academic momentum was I finished the last 30 hours with straight A's. Every class I took was an A all the way through. Basically saying I'm on a winning streak. I want to continue this momentum, and I want to continue it at this university. And then people skills. People skills, I could talk about the psychology of, honestly, the service industry, being around a lot of different people, helping customers, providing customer service, being intuitive of their needs. Those 2 things I felt was really going to give me the opportunity to win this admissions counselor. So I also knew I had to dress the part, and that I could do. So I went out, I bought this suit, and the suit was perfect. A white shirt, perfect white shirt, and an emerald green tie. And the emerald green tie, in my opinion, was significant because it showed a little bit of risk, right? It wasn't a standard like black tie or like a dull gray or blue tie. It had a little personality, and that's what I was trying to convey. I remember getting the perfect haircut, and I didn't skimp on a haircut. I didn't go to Bo Ricks or Supercuts. I went to a legitimate stylist and got like a nice haircut and great shoes. And those are the two things I stand by today. It's like, if you want to present yourself to the world, have a great haircut and have great shoes. So going into it, I prepped. I anticipated the questions that were going to come my way. I anticipated her basically telling me no and me trying to convince her to change her mind. And it was all timed. I knew like 15 minutes before I had my shot of espresso. I had the espresso to get me going, get me in there. And I remember going in and that my new shoes were rubbing like the back of my heel. And the biggest surprise is when I walked in, it was like, she must have been having a great day. And I did everything I could, like eye contact, shake the hand, genuine smile, engaging dialogue. And she said that I dressed very nicely and very professionally. And I was like, okay, good. I'm gaining some points here. Like, this is good. And she said, nobody that she meets with dressed as nicely as I did. And I took that as a great compliment. And I also emphasized, and I was like, you know what? I take this very seriously. I take this appointment very seriously. I take, being accepted into DePaul University I take it very seriously. And first impressions are imperative. And I remember saying the word imperative. And I was like, ooh, imperative. I was like, I never said that word. I was used to like Southside jargon, and my grammar had a lot of limitations. So when I said imperative, I was like, all right, maybe I'm trying a little too hard. So kind of sat down, and she was going through my GPA. She's like, okay, you have the 2.5 GPA requirement, the prerequisite, and you could transfer as an adult student. I was like, adult student? And I was like, I didn't say anything about it. I just knew it was like, I'll take any passage into the university. If I have to come in as an adult student, fine, no problem. And we got to talking. It was just a genuine conversation. She was a great person. She was probably having a great day. And I told her why I wanted to go to school there. I said, one, I wanted to be the first person in my family to get a 4-year degree. And I also wanted to be part of Chicago's history. And I knew that DePaul University had a local network and also a national network. And I just wanted to plug in and be a part of that. And I highly respected DePaul University for its academic excellence. So all of a sudden she turns to me and she was like, congratulations, you'll be enrolled in the fall trimester. And again, it was all coming to me. And I was like, I never even heard the word trimester. And I was just like, okay, and she said it, she's like, welcome to the DePaul family. And I honestly almost cried. And here's why I almost cried. It was because I never felt smart. My academic record was tarnished. I squandered it. And here I was finally, after living on a higher standard, living above, trying to play above the rim, live above the rim, and being the underdog, right? Being the underdog. And it was like, this would solidify my existence as somebody who could be deemed intelligent. And that was new for me. And it's relative. It's simple. DePaul University for me was like going to Yale. It was like going to Stanford. Like for me to get into this university was a long shot. And when I got in, it was euphoric. I was overwhelmed, right? The joy in my heart, right? So many words. There was like a tingling sensation. I felt strong, smart, accomplished. I was proud of myself. A new beginning, like things were starting to unfold in my world. And I was like empowered. Like possibilities limitless. I felt creative, satisfied, confident, respected, hopeful, loving, stimulated. All these buzzwords that just give emotion. And that's how I felt. I got accepted into DePaul University, which was like the greatest school for me, right? And so the next 2 years, I really dedicated my life. It was almost as if I disappeared. And these were painful times for me. These were dark times because everybody at my age was already off, starting families, they were no longer entry-level people. They were established careers. Some were lawyers, practicing law, considerations of, potentially being a partner. I just want a degree. I just want a marketing degree. And So many times that year, the Chicago Bears were in the playoffs and everybody would go to McGee's in Lincoln Park. And like McGee's was like a rite of passage. If you're a DePaul student, you go to McGee's, it's like life is good. And so a lot of times knew my friends were at McGee's. They were having a great time. It was Sunday. They were day drinking, eating, cheering on the Bears, who had a great season last year. And I was like a couple blocks away in the library, shut out from the world, studying. Because again, the way it took me to study, I had to put in extra effort compared to the average person, right? So I was giving up on that. I had a bartending job. I worked in Old Town, the Old Town neighborhood in Chicago on Wells and North Avenue, right down the block from Zany's in the Second City. And I wasn't making a lot of money, right? I wasn't making a lot of money. There was a lot of fun times there, but I was basically poor. I was poor. And I just knew, like, I was like, all right, I want to be a good person. I was like, okay, I'm poor. My credit rating is probably in the 500. And I still strived. I knew I wanted to be a good person. I wanted my mentor, who was a man from Nazareth. And I knew I wanted to be like this man. I wanted to be like him. And I wanted to just live life with love in my heart. No judgment. I wanted to teach, to heal, to build rather than to compete. And you could see where these emotions are going. It's like, all right, all of a sudden I was accepted to this college. I'm poor, but I still have values. I still have work ethic. I still love people. And those are the biggest things. And I talk about it in the book. And I also go through some other funny scenarios, probably inappropriate or somewhat borderline inappropriate. And maybe I've hurt some characters' feelings. So long story short, it was the power of networking. I met somebody her father worked in grocery retail. And I didn't know anything about grocery retail other than you go to the grocery store, you buy bread, you walk in the grocery store, and everything's just laid out. I got this job. My friend basically was like, look, like, you're going to need experience after DePaul. Like, you just can't have like bartending experience. You're going to need some like real world experience. And I was like, okay, great. Like, what is that? And so there was a merchandiser job available that I took. And basically I went to every neighborhood in Chicago. I went to the local jewel store, went in, built a relationship with the bakery store manager, replaced POS. It just goes to show like the power of just being able to live and thrive and live on a higher standard. And that's it. That's part one. That's part one of the book all the way through. So let's stay connected. More to come. You want the shortcut? Buy the book, The Pen of an Underdog. Let's stay connected. Subscribe. Way more to come. This is just the beginning, I promise you.